All right, Marvel diehards or casual moviegoers alike, let's talk about Captain America Brave New World. We have Sam Wilson officially upholding the role and title as Captain America, but he's in a world that doesn't really know how to accept him in that role. We also have some shady characters in the US government that definitely leans this film into Winter Soldier-esque political thriller territory, which I really enjoyed. So the film tries to juggle espionage, political intrigue, and superhero action, and for the most part, it works. There are plenty of moments that you feel that old fashioned Marvel spark with the tension of the world on the brink and the weight of the Captain America shield that carries a bit too much history. However, at the end of the day, I think that the screenplay is struggling to carry too many characters, too many subplots, and too many reshoots. And as a result, there's just not enough breathing room. So let's talk about Anthony Mackie as the new Captain America. I really did think that he delivered on this role. His character acknowledges that he is not Steve Rogers and he's not trying to be Steve Rogers. And I actually thought that Mackie's performance in this film was an improvement from Captain America and Winter Soldier because I felt like it was a more three-dimensional portrayal of Sam Wilson, which in Captain America Winter Soldier felt to me a bit more two-dimensional. So I thought that his character was a bit more holistic in this film, and it really highlights Sam Wilson's humanness throughout this character arc that he has. It highlights his leadership, his strategy, his heart behind justice, and he's struggling with, questioning of like, am I worthy of this because I am not a super soldier. I'm a normal guy. I have not taken the super soldier serum. So he has this internal struggle as he's navigating through this journey. And at the end of the day, where he goes with this, I think, is one of the best things about this film. So Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres, aka the new Falcon. So we got some hints of Joaquin's character in Captain America Winter Soldier. So now here he is in Captain America Brave New World as a prominent quote sidekick as the new up and coming Falcon. And I really enjoyed the relationship that Joaquin had with Sam Wilson's character as being somewhat of his mentor and his growth throughout the film of making mistakes and still learning and just kind of being the new kid on the block and his journey with that. And I thought it was one of the strongest subplots of the film. My new favorite side character that was introduced in this film, played by Shira Haas, which is Root Batsaraf. She's a former Black Widow who is the security advisor for President Thaddeus Ross. And she brought an icy, tactile, kind of humorous at times portrayal to her role. And I enjoyed every scene that she was in. She is a short queen and a kick A baddie. So, with that, I'm excited to potentially see her in more Marvel projects. So let's talk about the villains in this film because I honestly thought the villains were a bit hit or miss. And I think part of that is because I felt like there was almost too much going on with them for us to really savor what they each had to offer. So let's start with Thaddeus Ross. Is he a villain? Is he not? That is probably one of the best things about this film. So Harrison Ford playing Thaddeus Ross in place of the late William Hurt. I thought his character was one of the most intriguing in this film because he's layered and he is a character that is morally gray in terms of you don't know if he is the problem or if he's the solution, and you don't know what direction he's truly heading. So with that, he was also one of the most captivating and magnetic characters in this movie. So props to Harrison Ford for that. We have Giancarlo Esposito playing Sidewinder. Okay, so I honestly thought that his isolated character in this movie was just forgettable. Like, I feel like they didn't use him to the effectiveness that they could have. I thought that he was a bit underused, but at the end of the day, I do think that they were just trying to squeeze a lot into this film. And at the end of the day, if Sidewinder's character is isolated to just this movie, he is totally forgettable. But I can see how maybe Marvel is trying to place him here to use him in future projects. So that's probably the case, but I'd say his role in this film was pretty ineffective. Ineffective. Another villain in this film that I'm not going to spoil too much about. I will say I give props to Marvel for trying to go back in the past a bit to some past films of theirs and get some loose ends. And it's like, that's a loose end that was never resolved. Let's bring it into this film. Okay, great. I'm glad that they did that because, for one, I liked that film that they referenced pretty heavily in this one. And for a hot minute there, it kind of seemed like Marvel just kind of wanted to forget that that film ever happened. So I am glad that they're bringing characters back from that one into this. However, when it comes to who is revealed as another villain in this film, I just felt like it was hard to buy how he got there. It just felt like a big jump from what happened in that film to where he landed in this one. And they are telling us why his motives are what they are. But I honestly think that we could have used like a movie or just more time to show how he arrived at where he arrived at, because at the end of the day they were telling the audience and his motives were just murky. I'll address some inconsistent action choreography. I thought that the crispness of the choreography wasn't quite there in the first act. It was a bit lackluster to me. However, it did improve, I think, in the second and third act with the action sequences. But yeah, wasn't super impressed with the fight choreography in the beginning. I already addressed the wasted potential of Sidewinder's character, so we'll see how that maybe pans out in future MCU projects. And I also addressed the kind of questionable arc of the other villain that I just thought that it just fast forwarded to where he was without a whole lot of explanation. There were also some distracting CGI moments, and if you go and see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But another one that may not be as obvious to people, but it was obvious to me, there is a, cool surprise character introduction in this film that I could literally tell, like, was this part of one of their reshoots? Because these actors were not in the same room. Like, the shadows, the lighting was off, the camera angles looked a little weird. So to me, it just felt like these characters aren't even like actually talking to each other. And it honestly just kind of took me out of the moment, to be honest. The biggest problem, though, that I had with this film was I thought that the climax was way too rushed. This film spent so much time building this story, building this tension with all these characters, and then whenever it's finally time for the climax, it just goes into this emergency landing to resolve everything so quickly, whenever I think it kind of should have had a slower, earned descent. So let's talk about the highlights. First of all, I think that, popcorn, audience, smiling, action sequence of Captain America versus Red Hulk. It brought what you wanted, it brought the action that you wanted. So I enjoyed that. Probably one of my favorite parts about this film was Sam Wilson's leadership and his arc in his character, just kind of going through that internal struggle of becoming Captain America and accepting his role as who he is. Another thing that I liked was the subplot with his sidekick, the Falcon. I thought toward the end of the film, an emotional scene that they had, like, really landed where I thought it was kind of the bigger emotional punch of the film, because everything else was just kind of like typical MCU action and humor and things like that. The post-credit scene, I've heard mixed reactions about it. I've heard people say, like, don't stick around for it. I disagree. I thought that it was setting up some stuff for the future, so I would stick around for it. So, is Captain America Brave New World worth the watch? Yes. Is it perfect? No. But I would say this is one of the best Marvel movies in recent years. And even though, the action is inconsistent and the plot wobbles a bit, Anthony Mackie is proving that he is Captain America. So, yeah, the plot is a bit unsteady, but it's the characters that really carry this film, specifically the performances of Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford, which really nailed it. And even though the villains might hit the mark, I do think that the political thriller aspects work. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on Captain America Brave New World? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I want to hear your thoughts. Comment them down below and make sure to follow. Thanks for being a real one.